Welcome back to the Sunday Scrum. Justin Trudeau says he's committed to feminism and gender parity on the Hill. But on International Women's Day earlier this month, one of his Quebec MPs, Nicolas Deslauriers, appeared not to get the memo. Later that same day, MPs were in a private committee meeting when Conservative MP Diane Watt's phone rang. She described the ringtone as cheerful. We'll play it for you in a moment. But Liberal MP Deslauriers had a different interpretation, and Watt says he leveled a sexist remark.
At that time, music had gone off from Diane Watts' cell phone. Her daughter had been calling in, and just an offside comment was made by Mr. Deslauriers just regarding about where's the poll. What would you say if someone said, where's the poll, and music comes on? So I guess I can ask you, and what would the general public say if something like that happened? You and I both know exactly what he meant.
In a statement, Watts said the comment made her and other MPs very uncomfortable and that there's no place or time where such comments are acceptable. Watts called on the Prime Minister to take whatever actions he feels appropriate. Well, the Prime Minister yesterday announced that a process is properly underway. What does the Sunday Scrum make of it all? John, Susan, and Katie are standing by in Ottawa. Let me begin with Exhibit A. And I'll get your reaction as we listen to it, panel. The ringtone. All right, does that bring stripper poles to mind for anybody? John?
No, it doesn't. And really, this is how quiet the budget was. Look, Justin Trudeau has commendably made gender parity an important issue. It is 2017, and inappropriate remarks by old white men in committees are not appropriate. But we have come a long way from, John Crosby and come past the tequila, Sheila, and stuff like that. I think what really is happening here is the Conservatives and the NDP are looking for any way whatsoever to paint the Liberals as less than perfectly virtuous on questions of gender parity and sexual minorities and the like. And this is the best they've got. The MP has apologized. Really, I think we can move on.
Susan, what do you think?
I agree with John, surprisingly, perhaps. I mean, that was not exactly the overture for Gypsy, John probably knows that. John, would you hum us a few bars? No, I shouldn't see that. I could be accused of reverse sexism there. Actually, I don't know the MP in question. But again, it strikes me from afar as just a basically awkward joke, a joke that fell flat. I think it's kind of trivial compared, for example, to the Don Meredith case, the senator that we talked about exhaustively last week. The Senate committee, the Ethics Committee, still hasn't resolved that. They had a meeting. Nothing has been resolved. Meanwhile, Senator Meredith has hired a new, far more articulate lawyer to defend him. They're dropping the whole racist defense. I don't mean to segue away from that. I'm just saying that's serious. That's something that should be looked into immediately, and there should be consequences. This strikes me as just a passing insult. As John said, the guys apologized. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, apologized twice, according to the Liberal whip. Katie, what do you think?
Yeah, I hate to be the voice of agreement, but I totally share the position of my colleagues here. And actually, if I think to myself, what would I do in that situation if I had a ringtone that went off and a comment that could be sexist, could just be hugely awkward. He may have been speaking of some other kind of, like the fireman's pole, the Batman pole. There are any number of theories. But either way, what most of us would do is we would just stare at that person unblinkingly until they disappeared into a pit of their own shame, apologize, and that would be it. We would then move on, and life would continue. So I have to say, the fact that there was also this time lapse between me, ostensibly, allegedly insulting event happening, and us finding about it in the press tells me that this is more about, exactly as John says, just trying to find a way to hammer away at the Liberals who are having a bad week anyway. This made it more uncomfortable, which is what opposition parties do, but the rest of us don't necessarily have to demand an independent inquiry into this.
But is this a great country or what? I mean, those of us who are following American politics know that the Republicans' attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act have collapsed in internal rancor and acrimony. Meanwhile, there are investigations as to what the president knew and when he knew it about alleged ties between, Russian efforts to undermine the election. And we're talking about this. I think you give yourself a big thumbs up to say this is the worst we've got this week. We're not looking bad in comparison.
But it speaks to something larger. I mean, for example, let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. If you're sitting in a room, you're getting those comments all the time, then it speaks to a culture. So. And
that's what we don't know, Carol. At least as far as the public record goes, this particular MP is not notorious for this kind of thing. So context is important, but my sense is that this was probably just a one-off.
Okay, so let me go to the other side. Are we getting too sensitive? Exhibit B, Niki Ashton using a Beyonce line from the song Irreplaceable. To the left. I think we have a picture of it if we can get that up. Black Lives Matter complained that she was appropriating black culture, and that was inappropriate. She pulled the promo. A lot of people thought she was capitulating to political correctness.
Yeah, on that one, I think that there's definitely, an aspect of that.
John?
Yeah, I would not have pulled the line. Cultural appropriation it's a difficult issue, but and I tend to be sympathetic to those who worry about people being unfairly, stigmatized or in any other way made to feel marginal or irrelevant or not properly valued. But the right of people to express themselves remains nonetheless pretty sacrosanct, again. And accusing people of culturally appropriating other people's language and culture is, I think, the step past which I'm not prepared to go. And I think many of us feel the same way.
Katie, you started to say something?
Yeah, I think the issue here was also, we got to look at it in context. Niki Ashton has already been trying very explicitly to appeal to groups like Black Lives Matter and like other groups. That's part of her campaign pitch for NDP leader is, let's bring in these other groups into the New Democratic Party. Let's make them part of our force. I think because of that, the criticism coming from that particular area was probably taken perhaps not more seriously, but as a more potentially damaging state of affairs than might have been the case for another campaign. So I think that that's one reason why they reacted as quickly as they did, because this is very specifically a group that they're really hoping to bring into her campaign and to the New Democrats at large. So I think that context probably played a factor as well.
Okay, Susan, you want to weigh in?
I only want to say that I get the sense Beyonce wouldn't mind that much, but I don't know her. But, really, I mean, appropriate away if you're an artist trying to sell and trying to get your name out there.
Okay. Well, it's time for a break here on CBC News Network. Our Sunday Scrum continues just ahead. We're going to talk about the Keystone Pipeline. After 8 years, it gets the go-ahead from the United States president. Justin Trudeau pleased with the move by President Donald Trump, but it's not a done deal yet. Could Trudeau's approval cost him some of his supporters? Pipeline politics next on the Sunday Scrum.